Samara, we've got to talk about the royals, of course, but the non-royals at that. The Sussexes are now at war with Elon Musk. Yes, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's charitable foundation, Archewell Philanthropies, has published a statement in regards to online child safety, praising Minnesota's decision to outlaw AI notification applications. Archewell said that big tech has taken shocking steps to limit restrictions on or accountability for these objectively predatory AI product features. The trillionaire leader of the tech companies responsible for X's Grok sued the state of Minnesota to stop the law from going into place. Samara, why don't these two just shut up? I mean, seriously, they're obsessed by privacy, but they're not obsessed by privacy. Why won't they just go away, honestly?
I know. I didn't even know that Archewell Philanthropies was still around. I didn't even know it still existed. I thought they were all about making money now, especially since they're broke, which I'm sure we'll get onto later.
Yeah.
But this is really interesting. This is the pot calling the kettle black, isn't it? I mean, these are people that constantly invade their own privacy, going so far as to last week post a whole photo reel about their very private trip to the UK, pictures of Archie and Lilibet prancing around Diana's old home and Althorpe, where her family still live. I mean, it was a real invasion. It truly was. And the statement, I mean, it's so pointed. Why do they get so political? In some ways, and I was talking to Lady C, who's a royal commentator, about this. In some ways, you think, well, is Meghan trying to sort of launch a political career potentially? Is this her going for governor of California, going for Elon Musk, someone that all of the lefties absolutely despise and hate? Is this what this is? Or is this them just sort of on their high horse wanting to have an opinion about absolutely everything and then never wanting the lens pointed back in their direction? I think the truth is somewhere in between.
Yeah, I think you might be right there. I just don't know why they just don't mind their own business and just get on with it, seriously, because they're constantly interjecting in every single political issue, yet they're just begging for privacy all the time. They don't want to be private. They want to be out of the spotlight, but actually they love the spotlight.
Imagine waking up one morning, checking your phone and discovering that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have decided to lecture Elon Musk about technology. Yes, the man whose career has involved electric cars, rockets, satellites, artificial intelligence, and depending on which day of the week it is, apparently trying to make the entire internet argue with itself. And now the Sussexes have entered the chat. Harry and Meghan have publicly criticized Musk's XAI over its legal fight surrounding Minnesota's restrictions on AI-generated nude images, arguing that technology companies should be doing more to protect women and children. Their statement was particularly pointed, accusing big tech of placing financial interests ahead of safety. Now, let's be clear. Protecting children and preventing abuse is something virtually everybody can agree on. But the fascinating question is this. Because Elon Musk didn't exactly wake up saying, "You know what my Tuesday needs? A royal review of my business strategy." And that's where this story gets deliciously awkward. Because Musk's response, at least publicly so far, has been notable for what it hasn't been: a dramatic royal counterattack. No palace-style statement, no 12-paragraph declaration, no mysterious source close to Musk. Just Elon Musk being Elon Musk. And frankly, if you're going to pick a public fight with a man whose social media platform has enough bandwidth to host the argument, you might want to bring more than a beautifully worded statement. Harry and Meghan's criticism didn't appear out of nowhere. The couple have spent years speaking about online safety, particularly the effects of social media and technology on young people. Harry has repeatedly made digital safety a major part of his public advocacy. So their concern about AI-generated sexual imagery is hardly a completely new subject for them. But the moment they connected that argument to Musk's company, the temperature changed. Because now we're not talking about an abstract technology debate. We're talking about... And Elon has never exactly been famous for responding to criticism by quietly sipping chamomile tea and saying, "Thank you for your feedback." This is a man who can turn a routine post on X into a 5-alarm internet event before most people have finished breakfast. The Sussexes basically walked into the world's loudest digital pub, pointed at the biggest table and said, "Excuse me, we'd like to discuss your approach to technology." And somewhere, Elon probably looked at the screen and thought, that's what makes this clash so entertaining. Harry and Meghan have built a public identity around advocacy. Elon has built his around disruption. One side speaks through carefully constructed statements. The other side can apparently communicate with the world using a post shorter than the average royal press release. It's not exactly an even battle of communication styles. It's Shakespeare versus a meme. This is where the Sussex criticism gets serious. Their statement accused big tech companies of taking steps that, in their view, limit accountability for dangerous AI features. They specifically connected their criticism to XAI's legal challenge against Minnesota's law regulating AI nudification applications. That's a legitimate public policy argument to have. But here's where Team Elon would push back, and that distinction matters. Companies can challenge legislation because they believe particular laws are too broad, unconstitutional, technically flawed, or potentially harmful to legitimate uses of technology. You can disagree with that position, you can criticize it, you can demand stronger safeguards. But jumping from "this company is challenging this law" to "therefore this company doesn't care about children" is a much bigger leap. And that's where the Sussex argument becomes vulnerable. Because the technology debate isn't as simple as, it's a messy collision between innovation, regulation, free expression, privacy, safety, and corporate responsibility. And Elon Musk, for all his controversies, has spent years arguing that technological innovation shouldn't be strangled by excessive regulation. Whether you agree with him or not, at least he's actually sitting at the table where the technology is being developed. Harry and Meghan are standing across the table saying, Elon is effectively saying, and that difference is enormous. This is probably my favorite part of the whole story. Prince Harry has spent years warning about the dangers of social media, and who owns one of the world's biggest social media platforms? Exactly. Elon Musk. It's like somebody spending years complaining about fast food and then deciding to personally critique the McDonald's menu with Ronald McDonald standing 3 feet away. The irony practically writes itself. Harry's concerns about online safety aren't ridiculous. They deserve serious discussion. But when your opponent is the person who owns the platform where millions of people will immediately debate your criticism, you're entering a slightly unusual arena. Because Musk doesn't need a television interview, he doesn't need a royal correspondent, he doesn't need a carefully staged documentary, he has X. One post. That's it. The Sussexes can spend days developing a carefully worded statement, and Musk can potentially respond before somebody finishes reading the second paragraph. That is the difference between traditional celebrity communication and Musk-era internet communication. And here's another uncomfortable point for the Sussexes. Once you put a controversial statement online, you don't get to choose the questions that follow. People will ask, what exactly is the alternative? How should the technology be regulated? Where should free speech end? Who decides? What happens when governments abuse regulation? What happens when AI becomes impossible to contain? And suddenly the conversation becomes much bigger than the Sussexes' original statement. That's the internet. Welcome to the machine, Harry. Here's where I think Musk has a major psychological advantage. He doesn't need to be liked by the royal establishment. He doesn't need a palace invitation. He doesn't need a ceremonial title. And he certainly doesn't need anybody to tell him that he's important. The man has literally built companies around rockets going into space. So when Harry and Meghan criticize him, there is no obvious status advantage for them to exploit. This isn't a prince confronting another prince. It's a prince confronting a billionaire entrepreneur who appears perfectly comfortable being unpopular. And that's a dangerous opponent in a public argument. Because if you're accustomed to controlling the framing of a conversation, Musk is practically allergic to the instruction manual. He'll challenge the framing, he'll challenge the premise, he'll challenge the journalist, and if necessary, he'll probably challenge the punctuation. That's what makes this feud so funny. The Sussexes are used to a world where image matters enormously. Musk operates in a world where matters. And attention doesn't care whether you're wearing a crown, it cares whether people are watching. And judging by the reaction to this latest clash, people certainly are. This is bigger than one statement. It's really a clash between two very different brands. Harry and Meghan have positioned themselves as advocates for social causes, mental health, digital safety, and responsible technology. Musk has positioned himself as the rebellious billionaire who wants to push technology forward while challenging institutions and conventional thinking. So when the two collide, you get an almost perfect culture war spectacle. One side says, the other side effectively represents. And somewhere in the middle, ordinary people are sitting there thinking, can somebody please explain what the actual law says? That's the problem with celebrity-led debates. They can make complicated issues entertaining. But they can also make complicated issues sound ridiculously simple. The AI debate is not solved by one royal statement. It isn't solved by one billionaire tweet. And it certainly isn't solved by whichever side gets the most applause online. There are genuine questions about AI-generated sexual imagery, consent, child protection, and regulation. Those questions deserve serious policymakers, engineers, lawyers, and child safety experts. Not just celebrities throwing verbal tomatoes at each other from opposite balconies. And if we're being brutally honest, That may be the biggest reason Musk has the advantage here. He has a direct connection to the technology itself. The Sussexes have a direct connection to the conversation around it. Those aren't the same thing. So, where does this leave us? Harry and Meghan have made their position clear. They believe technology companies need to do much more to protect vulnerable people from harmful AI-generated content. That concern is understandable. But their criticism of Musk and XAI opens a much larger debate about regulation, innovation, and corporate responsibility. And Musk? Well, Musk is Musk. He doesn't exactly look like someone who is going to abandon his entire technological agenda because two former working royals disapprove of it. And that's why I think the Sussexes may have chosen an unusually difficult opponent. You can criticize Elon Musk. Plenty of people do. You can disagree with him. Millions of people do. You can question his decisions. Journalists do it every day. But if you're going to take him on, you better bring facts, evidence, and a very thick skin. Because this isn't Buckingham Palace. There are no velvet ropes here. There is no royal protocol. There is no palace spokesperson waiting to clean up the mess. There is just the internet. And on the internet, everybody gets a microphone, including Elon. And if the Sussexes thought they were going to deliver the final word, they may have forgotten one small detail. So perhaps the real winner isn't Harry. It isn't Meghan. It isn't Elon. It's us. Because apparently, the AI revolution has now reached the stage where a prince, a duchess, and a billionaire are arguing over its future while millions of spectators grab popcorn. Honestly, Netflix couldn't write this any better. And there you have it. The Sussexes versus Elon Musk. A battle involving royalty, billionaires, artificial intelligence, free speech, online safety, and enough internet drama to power a small city. Whether you're Team Elon, Team Sussex, or simply Team, can everyone please calm down? One thing is certain. This story isn't going away anytime soon. So if you enjoyed this commentary, turn on notifications and join us for the next chapter of the never-ending royal soap opera. Because apparently, even in the age of artificial intelligence, humanity's favorite technology remains the same. I'll see you in the next one.